Level Up Latina partners with working women and mamas alike to guide them in achieving fulfilling career and life goals through financial empowerment, professional or leadership coaching, and personal wellness. Find the unique coaching you need to succeed.
You're listening to Vero, Ceci, and Irene, and we are Level Up Latina.
It is here. It is Black Friday this week only, ending on Friday, November 25th is our flash sale, our Black Friday sale for our guilt-free squad. Learn all about it at leveluplatina.com. You can follow the link there on the homepage. You can also find it on Instagram or Facebook. Link to leveluplatina.com to get your guilt-free squad Black Friday sale. Get the whole year for only $584. It's $100 off. It's a deal. You have a daily group chat with the guilt-free squad. If you want to partake daily, there's a monthly meeting. The content is incredible. This is a group of like-minded women that love being in community together. You have to join this network. Why? Because your network improves your net worth, but more than that, your self-esteem and your sense of belonging, and you have a think group of amazing women. The Guilt-Free Squad is incredible. Check out the reviews also at leveluplatina.com or on our Instagram at leveluplatina. And until then, get your deal. Get it this week. And now on to the show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Level Up Latina podcast. This is episode 178. Well done, mujeres. Well done. So today we're going to be talking about relationships, and more in particular, professional relationships and how exactly they have helped us out, or really we've developed them and grown them to be beneficial to us in our professional worlds and helping us grow. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that today. I mean, relationships in your professional life are really essential. I know that this, we've been talking about are just like different topics weekly. And I feel that with work wise and career wise, when it comes to relationships, those are the things that kind of help, really mold your career in, let's say, in a particular workplace, in where you're at, and it helps kind of build to where you're going to be headed, like not be headed as in te van mucho la cabeza, but like where you're headed as a professional. Andamos todas también bien distraídas. Yo que con las chichis no quiero que se escuche mi pump. Talking about what will be a topic, and I'm like, what has been the greatest thing that we've gained from having these professional relationships? So I'll kick it off. For me has been like, it opened opportunities for me in the sense of like, when I got let go of my job, my first job at Enterprise, like having those relationships with the local, businesses that I had been, marketing constantly, and, being able to grow relationships with other people at other businesses. And they saw how I worked. That opened the door for my job. I think it was like my second job after leaving Enterprise, because the person was like, hey, I heard you're no longer there. But it took a while for them to, find out. They just knew that with Enterprise, we used to move around a lot. You would get promoted to a new store, and then you had to kind of rebuild relationships constantly. So you became like a relationship guru when it came to marketing and bringing business into your office with it was always like either insurance agents, local body shops, dealerships. So you were constantly like out there, like putting yourself out there. So when you visited these locations, these places, you needed to be like quick and easy, like relatable, and know how to fix a problem, know how to be able to easily be reached by these people you're marketing. So one of those, was visiting the dealership often when he found out that I was no longer there and I was in transition, trying to, leave one particular job and go into something else. He reached out and he's like, hey, I would love for you to come and work with me and help me grow this part of my business. And I think you'd be a great fit for it. And it was perfect. It just worked out for me because that person knew how I was when it came down in my professional self, and what I was able to accomplish, how I was able to relate and bring my team along, grow and develop a department. So I feel that really helped me in my next step when I was trying to find that next job, or trying to, it was still within the car industry, but it was not, it was kind of like a segue out, because it was more like the business aspect of it, the behind the scenes. So for me, that was really essential, because I didn't have that big stress of having to where do I start in finding a new job? It was more like it came to me because of the experience and the knowledge, and not only that, but the relationship that I had with this person, and it was a professional relationship, working relationship that really helped me get that next job. So with you ladies, what has been one of the best things that has come from growing and developing a professional relationship?
For me, some of the big things that are themes for the business relationships that I have had, and gosh, almost 20-year career would be mindset. Like I've always kind of looked up to people who were at a place where I wanted to be, and what was their mindset, what were their habits, what were they doing that I wasn't doing. So early in my life, like when I was trying to do sales, part of that whole structure, because it was like multi-level marketing, was to put you in front of people that had made the money or built the teams or had the sales. And I remember those were the few first connections where I was like, man, these people are so smart. They're so wise. They're doing so much. And it didn't matter if they had accents. It didn't matter if they were immigrants to this country, young, old, male, female. I just remember being really empowered. And I look back at that time in my life, and I've probably said this before, but sales was really hard. So that wasn't necessarily easy to do. It taught me how to be a good saleswoman, thank God. But the relationships taught me to think like a business owner before I was a business owner. And it taught me to lead before I knew that I could be a leader at an organization. So this is well before my career now, leading and being in the nonprofit space. But those were the initial business connections that I had. But then when I look forward to like years later, like when I first became CEO, the first thing I did was join like these classes and be around other CEOs and learn from them. And it gave me so much confidence because I was like, okay, they know what they're doing. They are already raising money. They already have big teams. Like, what do I need to learn from them? So it was very cool to use it as like a learn their skills, learn their mindset, and then grow your confidence because you're around these connections. And then today I flash forward and I was trying to think about like, how do we have them now in present day? It's our podcast. Like our podcast puts us in front of so many incredible women. There's so many connections, so many walks of life, so many women that do different things. The guest that we just had, like 15 minutes ago, like it's like, wow, she's so wonderful and herself and refreshing. And she's like a social media influencer, content creator, but actually she's a Latina in tech. Like how freaking cool is that, right? So the connections that we have today continue to be like a source of growing our mindsets of what's possible, but also growing our skills. We learn from these people and we get inspired by them and we relate to them. We were talking about the guests and how she's so freaking relatable. So these connections, those business connections, go beyond like learning the skills of business. It's like learning how to live life, learning how to think about business, learning how to persevere and work hard. So I can think about those 3 stages in my life, and the people that I looked up to, I was definitely learning a lot from.
I think for me, Irene, thank you for kind of putting it in those 3 segments because they remind me, I was only focused like the last 10 years. Like the last 10 years, I was thinking, okay, my legal career started 10 years ago. I guess not my legal career because my legal career started way before that. But my lawyer career, I turned 10 as a lawyer this December. Gracias.
Felicidades.
El 3 de diciembre. I'm like looking at my little certificate over here. Pero sí, el 3 de diciembre. So I was like focused on that when I thought about today's topic. But you made me remember like way back. So way back, like my first, I feel like, I guess, professional job that took me a little bit outside my comfort zone was when I was an intern at the visitor center at UCSB. And yeah, and the connections that I made there, made me get out of my comfort zone. Like I used to do presentations to high schoolers and do the whole backward walk when I used to give tours to parents. And I was so proud to show them our school and so proud to be able to do it in Spanish with, when students would visit with their parents and, incoming students or students that were considering applying to UCSB. So I was so proud to say like, this is me. I am here. I'm a student here. I think I was a senior then. And this could be you too. And we speak the language and, like your parents can understand and your parents can feel comfortable. Anyway, I'm just sharing all this because that group of mentors that I had there, Katya and Gina, like I'm still friends with them to this day. I don't see them often, but we're friends on Facebook. Beautiful. And the last time we went to UCSB, like we met up with Gina, and I hadn't seen her probably like in 20 years. I'm exaggerating, but it felt like that. But those women were women of color that were very inspiring, and I looked up to them. And I was a young college student, and I felt that because of their teachings and the way they made me feel, I knew that when I stepped out into the real world after college, I was going to be okay. But I didn't realize that until later on in life. And then right now that reminded me. And then in my legal career, I've always been, and this was harder, at the beginning because I was like, there was very few people that looked like me in my former law firm, and all the lawyers were white. I was the only Latina, so it took a while, but I slowly but surely became more authentic, and even though I'm not in that firm anymore, I still maintain those relationships and I nurture them. Like I call people up, we get together, and sometimes I use them as, my former colleagues and friends, I use them as sounding boards when I'm encountering something, when I want tips on something, or when I'm trying to find a lawyer in another field that I don't practice. Like I needed to find a lawyer about for bankruptcy to refer a family member, and like I can always just pick up the phone and call one of my former colleagues and my boss, in fact, and like, hey, this is going on, this is how I see it, what do you think? And because I've maintained those relationships, I feel comfortable doing that, just picking up the phone and, hey, this is going on, I don't know that area of law, but can you help me think of who might be, or let's think about this together, like this is the way I see it, can we chat further? And then now with our podcast, the same thing that you were saying, Irene, that because of our podcast, we are connected to so many women and so many people in different fields. And personally, I felt that establishing those relationships and reaching out to people to be on our podcast and even speaking during the podcast has made me a much better speaker. I'm more comfortable talking to people and really telling them what we're all about. Like, this is who we are. This is our podcast. The purpose of our podcast is to highlight our voices, to bring awareness to who we are as Latinas, first gen, and we are leveling up, but we want to level up together. We want to bring people up that are in similar shoes or have similar cultures and are going through the similar things that we've gone within our own journey. So I think each phase is important. Each phase has taught me different things, and each phase has taught me different aspects, of it, that still help me to this day in my career as a coach, in my career as a podcaster, in my career as a lawyer, and even as a mom.
So trippy because, like you said, Ceci, that until Irene kind of broke it down into like 3 different areas or 3 different points in her life to how she grew into becoming the leader that she is now, that when we're younger, we don't think of those relationships by thinking like these are professional relationships. They're just people that we're encountering in life. When we were in Santa Barbara, we were, aparte de ser partes de Hermanas Unidas, we were all really involved in different aspects of the college life. You were giving tours doing the moonwalk, and I think you should change it to that, not the backwards walk, but doing the moonwalk as you gave your tours. Yeah. Because it's technically walking backwards, con style. But I feel like, I was a resident assistant. I was also part of the EOP program. I did, was an advisor through the PODS program. So I was heavily involved with student affairs también, and made relationships with professors and like people that, some of the faculty at our campus. And I kind of lost touch once I graduated. I really, didn't keep in touch with a lot of those people that were like my mentors, that I could say, that really helped guide me through college, that kept me there, kept me echándole ganas, like we had so many great people to look up to, we had Melinda, we had the EOP, all the people there, like Lupe, we had Ozzy. I don't know if you guys remember them, but like these are just amazing people that were there to help, first generations or Latinos or people that felt like they couldn't identify easily with the campus. So I didn't think of it then like, oh, I'm building these relationships, these professional relationships that at one point I could possibly, reach out to. But they were helping us, molding us into these little beings on how to really carry ourselves and develop those friendships, and not friendships in particular, but relationships, and how to talk with, leaders in the community, how to talk to leaders within your organization, within your campus. So another one that was a great person that I really admired was Britt Andriata. She's now a PhD, and she writes like amazing articles. She works for this amazing company that talks about emotional intelligence and how to really, get your people to, take ownership within what they're doing in their companies and organizations. And she goes and talks to companies and organizations on how to do that. And part of that is being able to have leaders. And Irene, I know it's key that leadership is able to understand what their team is going through and help bring them up and create that ownership, create that buy-in to want them to be good, great employees in a sense, right? So we don't think of it then. So if anyone's listening to the podcast and you're still in college or you're still starting off your entry level, it is so essential to build these relationships with the people that are willing to give you that time to train you, to teach you, to develop you, and ask those questions and keep in touch. Let's say you do go to another company and you need referrals. These people are great for that because they've seen where you started and what you've become. And they most of the time can see your potential as well. And they will support you. So these people are there not only to give you that pat on the back and cheer you forward, but also give you advice and say hey, you have these key things that you're really good at. Maybe you should look into those, and it helps you grow. So thanks, Irene, for putting into perspective that way for us, because if you're young, start building those relationships because you never know when you might need someone as well, or later on, they need you, in the sense of, hey, do you know anyone? Are you interested in this kind of opportunity? Because it opens doors, not just for you, but for the people around you. But in this sense, I kind of want to pick Irene's brain in the leadership aspect. I know you are the CEO of your nonprofit organization. What is one key thing that has helped you in building those relationships to reach a goal, as a team for you?
I think one of the key things, great question, Vero, would be because if folks are listening to this, maybe they're thinking I don't even know where to start. I don't know who my business contacts are. So we put it in the sense of who's your teacher now? Who's around you now? Who do you admire? I love that someone brought up a professor because I have a professor that I'm still close to and I love. And he just checked in with me the other day on social media. God, social media is a game changer. Use that tool. But today, if I flash forward to my life today, the way I feel like I've been able to maintain or even start relationships is to try to really bring my real self to them. All of who I truly genuinely am, because sometimes we're trying to make a connection with people, but we don't connect because we're not fully ourselves for whatever the reason. Maybe you feel imposter syndrome, maybe you feel prejudice, maybe you feel limited, whatever your reason for not being able to connect, you're going to continue to not connect if you're not really ever feeling like you can be yourself. So in my organization, we really celebrate strengths. What are they? And areas of growth. And in my coaching, I do that with my clients, really celebrating what their gifts are so they're not so focused on their shortcomings, and then leading with their gifts to make connections and to meet people and to just jive with people and connect with people. So at the organization that I'm at now, we're really always trying to pull the best from every single person and then feel connected by that. So I can often speak to what I get as feedback about myself, my team, whether they're those that work for me or whether they're those that lead me. So the board of directors, past and present, the past I still stay connected to, which I love. That's another way to have connections. Just because someone moves on from a company, it doesn't mean they're no longer your connection. Stay connected to them. But my team often says to me that I have this energy about me and I have this spirit about me. So when I'm in the room or when I'm connecting with a parent or when I'm connecting with a student, I don't know any other way but to be jovial and fun and high spirited. That's what my sorority uses, high spirited. We're full of high spirits. So that's great. But then I have another person on the team that could be very thoughtful and they connect because they'll remember your birthday. They will know when you're sick and they'll bring you tea. They're the gentle ones. Or there's someone else on the team that all they do is make people laugh and they're humorous and everyone gravitates toward them and they love them in that way. So connections, I think, are built by being really who you are and celebrating people's strengths. So a lot of the old connections that I've made, I just remember who are they? What do they bring? What do they give? So one example is Ceci was talking about her lawyer contact. One of my previous board presidents was a human resources attorney. So I always have a human resources attorney to turn to. Always, it gives me this added confidence and I don't know what the heck I'm doing here. And just like you said, Ceci, call him and he supports me. But before, he just happened to be on our board. He just happened to be the president. He wore more of a hat, sort of being my mentor and my boss. Now he's definitely my lawyer friend. He gives me so much great advice. So business relationships change. And I think the best way to make them is take inventory about what you are and what they are and try to make it mutually beneficial. What's in it for them? What's in it for you? Because business relationships are transactional, right? It's not just give me, take, student, I'm learning. It's really, you have something to bring too. Like, you have something to bring too. So early on to me, I was like one of the only Latina voices in the room. That was valuable. Like, my board looked to me like, what do you think? You're the only one that actually gets it, serving all these Latinos. And that's like, wow.
You're like, you're actually very important here. You are key to the success here. Hello.
My strategy. Yeah. Let me give you my strategy. So it's very cool to then give yourself your place. Like, oh, they need what I bring. I need what they bring. And it's mutual. And so that's what we're trying to do always in my office. In fact, next month, we're going to probably save it till January, have a big old presentation on our strengths and strength finders. And the board just did it. We like to do it and re-up. And it's been 7 years since I've done it. And like my teammate, 7 years as well. And there's new people. The board has changed. So we're going to look at a grid and we're going to have all of our strengths there. And we're going to focus on who's the networker in the room, who's the strategic thinker in the room, who's the pusher and the driver in the room. And let's use each other and support each other. And so then we are forcing business connections. We're forcing strategic connection because we're looking at our strengths. So those are some of the tips that we use at my office, and we don't get it perfect. Sometimes we totally get it wrong and we piss off some business connections and they're gone forever. So careful of relationships, take care of them.
Yeah, no, I like what you're saying. Sometimes you need to reach out to those people. There's like a random ant, but reach to those people that.
Oh, I thought you meant like reach out to a random ant. I was like, no, it was a random ant on your desk.
I was like, I guess I have that might have some knowledge about tamales and how I should make better tamales and sell them, and that's business.
No, pero de como ahorita, like recently, like I reached out to a mutual friend of all of ours that really knows real estate. Like, she knows her shit so well, and like I fully trust her. And like, okay, what's the game plan here? And to help my family essentially. And so I fully trust and value. And so when my family member approached me and said, hey, this is going on, I was like, I don't know anything about that, but I know someone that does, and she speaks Spanish. So here you go, connect them. And then, we go from there. And then vice versa. Then this person asked me recently, like, oh my God, there's this document that I need to file with the court. Like, what do you know? Like, do you know what this is? I'm like, yep. And that's very simple. So just send me the info y te lo hago, like así de rápido, because por la amistad and because the way I trust her knowledge in the realtor world, like igual, like también me preguntó a mí because sentía con confianza, like, all right, this is a legal document. What the hell? I'm like, girl, don't even worry about it. Mándame la información. I'll just plug it in because it's something very, very simple, and I'll draft it for you.
You're like,
done.
Consider it.
I know
done,
para cuando lo necesitas. Nomás dime para cuando lo necesitas, because it's not. I mean, I can't do it right now, but it doesn't take me long, But anyway, I'm saying all that to say that it's important to nurture those relationships and know like who quién sabe de esto, and to feel comfortable enough to like pick up the phone and say, you know what, that's not my area of expertise, but I know it's yours, so ¿qué me puedes decir for that,
Eventually down the road, like, money is best spent on what's going to help you. And you may feel like, I don't know anything about this. I don't know anyone who knows anything about this. Social media is beautiful because it keeps us together, but you may not be super duper comfortable. So then you have to go out there and look for the hire, the contract employee, the coach. Like, you may have to hire someone who's been there, done that it's their job now to teach you and to help you. Like, more expensive, and there's a resource to invest, but it's always worth it. It always comes back. Of course, I'm going to think that, but I do think that sometimes business connections, you pay to play for a little while, and then they become your organic friends and they turn to you. I have a lot of former clients. We stay in touch. They come to me for advice. They're no longer my clients. We now interact more like peers. And they know that I have an expertise because it's something they've been working on. And now I get to just indirectly coach them. And that's beautiful. But for a while, they had to pay.
Y sí, también.
And it takes time to build. Yeah, it takes time to build those relationships. Like, it's beautiful to be able to keep in contact with people that have trusted you with their growth, and they see the value in what you bring. And some people continue to pay, and some people are like, I think that my growth with you has reached a peak. However, I still value your opinion. Do you mind sharing that with me? So, Ceci, you mentioned something about nurturing relationships and professional relationships. Many times when we're looking to possibly transition or pivot or make a change in our careers, some people are afraid to be like, oh my God, I know this person, but I haven't really maintained that relationship. How do I reach out? What do I do? So you said nurturing. What are maybe some key like pointers that you might want to give someone that says like, how would I nurture this relationship so when the day comes that I might need to ask or put myself out there, like how can I go about that?
I think just checking in with those people once in a while. That's what I tend to do. just checking in, like un mensajito, or even like during, Christmas time, like sending a Christmas card, like, hey, this is us. Here we are. And just checking in, with my former colleagues. I try to do that. We have like no, we don't have a group text message. I text message them separately, randomly. Like if I remember their birthday randomly, like, oh, happy birthday. This past weekend or Friday, I was supposed to check in and chat with my former boss, and I forgot it was a holiday, and I said, oh, Bob, we can chat on Monday perhaps. And I remembered randomly that it's his wife's birthday. And I was like, oh, by the way, happy birthday, and, I remember it because she's a fellow Scorpio. So me acordé. So things like that. And even with my other friend, Kevin, like I'll message him once in a blue moon. He'll message me if he's in the area, like for work or whatever. When I'm in the office in the mission, he'll ask like, hey, are you in the office? Like, let's do lunch. Okay. Yeah, let's do lunch. We've been planning a double date the entire year, but it hasn't happened. But so things like that, just, like the social part of being, friends, but also like, I mean, being like, business connections, but also like a little bit of social there, like checking in, throughout the year, not just when, when you need something. Um, making plans to see each other physically. Let's go have a coffee, let's go have a drink, and not necessarily to talk business, but just to check in with each other, like how's work going, how's the family, things like that. I think that keeps it real, because everybody's living their life as not just handling business and not just going through their career, but life is happening at the same time. So checking in with those people is very important, I'd say.
That's awesome. Irene, ¿tú qué piensas? What would be some of your pointers to nurture that relationship?
I love how Ceci said send a card. I think that's always really sweet to stop and write down a card. I was literally thinking earlier, like, oh, I gotta send Christmas cards to all the people that I just mentioned right now. Like literally a Christmas card and write on it. But I think another way to really stay connected to people is to think of them in those moments when you want to have them around. Like invite them. Like I have a lot of previous connections where I invite them every single year to like the same function. And whether they come, they come. If they don't, they don't. But they know what the function's about. They loved it. It used to bring them joy. And every single year I say, I've got a comp seat for you. There was a few handful that it's like, I want to bring them back, and they may take me up on, and they may come, and that's really great. Or I'll invite them to lunch, and then vice versa. Sometimes they invite me to lunch and we just catch up, like boards that I've sat on before. I try to stay in touch with those leaders there and hang out with them at least once a year, once every 2 years. Like try to get together for a meal, cheer each other on, ask about each other's kids. So the best way to nurture, I think, is to really get in front of folks. And we know that with our friends. Like we know that with our friends. So just treat business contacts like you treat your friends. I have 2 sorority sisters that joined the sorority when I did, and we're in touch behind the scenes, and you wouldn't be able to tell from like our social media and our lives, and we all live in different places. Always talk about having a trip together, and we've done a trip together before, and behind the scenes, we're planning that. And how you cultivate friendship with people that you've known for 20 years is how you cultivate business relationships. Trying to do your best to get together, to call, to be in each other's lives, I think really cultivates it. So I try to remember to do that. And sometimes it's just a random text message. It's a random message on Instagram. We're just so fortunate. We're the generation that has LinkedIn. We're the generation that is all over social media. Like, use that to just drop someone a hello. That's the tip of the day today. Think of those people that were in your life that brought value, that you're like, wow, that was a business connection. And don't ask them for anything. Just check in on them. Just thank them for what they did. Maybe they don't realize that they were huge and they changed your life, and you couldn't have done what you've done without them. I had these donors that years ago were in touch with me about something unrelated, and they were talking about a scholarship. And we do the thing where you chit chat in an email and you share about your lives or ask about your lives. And with them, I always say, like, how are you? And how do you like living where you moved to? And I always think of you fondly and the years that you taught me so much. Like I always say the same thing to that couple. And they're probably like, we've heard it a million times. Like she's so grateful for the stuff that we did for her when she was learning and growing up and coming up in the business. But I'm going to take that opportunity, that email, that random connection to share thanks. Because sometimes just not asking for something cultivates. Not sometimes. That's really a strategy in the nonprofit world. Touch points matter, but the touch point can't always be like, I need something again. I need something. Like drop by to say thank you, drop by to share good news, drop by to ask about their lives or share about your lives. And every once in a while, then you drop in can I get this too? Can I have this? Can you help me? Can you donate? Can you show up at an event? I need you. So cultivation is more than just a transaction of you receiving and you alone. It's about you giving, always giving and being grateful and being present for that moment and those people in your life.
So I guess, Irene, you can also say that even though business relationships tend to be transactional, we can make it more interaction, more of a, let's go a little bit deeper. Let's, show true, genuine interest for these people, especially the ones that have helped us along our careers or our paths. In your case, in the nonprofit world, Ceci, in the lawyer world, for me, it was, corporate leadership and corporate and business operations, like those people that really helped us out. I mean, we carry them in our hearts, we carry them in our minds. And when we make certain decisions, I know there was a point for me that I would say, like, what would this person do? And it really helps, to move us forward professionally and become better leaders, become better, like, employers and employees, like Irene, I think you said right now, she's like, I led by your board, but you're also lead your team, right? So in a sense, become good leaders. And not only that, allow ourselves to be led as well when the time comes. So I think we've shared some really good nuggets today. For me, I'm going to go off and say that what Irene mentioned, what Ceci mentioned, is nurture your relationships. Be thankful for those people that have really influenced you professionally. Take the time to thank them. Take the time to reach out and come up with, let them know about a particular time that it was. I feel that when they know that at least the time that they put into you, they're not maybe expecting anything in return, but at least they know that you are grateful for that. And it's really hard to come across people that are willing to do it so genuinely and want to see us grow and succeed and be the best that we can be.
Can I take you up on that advice and do something on the podcast right now with that in mind?
No, go for it.
So I'm going to give a little shout out to somebody that we all know. Elisa Lerma, we all knew her in college, and she started Hermanas Unidas with you. She's my comadre, my OG comadre of all comadres. She and I were bloggers together right before I went on my trip, and she was like the easiest person to talk to work with, to mother with. Like, she had her babies and I had my babies and they were the same age, and we just bonded over that. And there was never a tough talk. There was never a hard moment. It was always easy with she and I, like easy, easy, easy. And looking back on it, she knew so much. Like, I didn't know, and she just taught me indirectly so many things, and I was just happy to be there and looking up at her. And from the outside looking in, you might think, wow, they're really good at XYZ. No, girl taught me. She taught me how to blog. She taught me how to use Google Calendar, which changed my office. My whole office uses Google Calendar to this day. She was like the one teaching me how to charge people and close them so they would pay for our blog posts. Like, she was the ultimate teacher. And I was like, yes, yes, yes. And I was just writing. She was like, I like the way you write and do this and do that. And I was like, taught so much by her. And she was also the most consistent person I knew. Like, I was like, gosh, Elisa, I know you're going to hear this. Like, I took it for granted, and I don't even know that I took it for granted. Like, it was a beautiful time in my life. And thank you. Thank you for being consistent. Thank you for being so smart. Thank you for being so loving. Thank you for venting. I would vent about my husband. You would vent about yours. You would vent about the kids. Like, it was such a beautiful relationship. And the blog itself just kind of naturally, we went from posting every day to posting a couple times a day to having themes to not really posting. I was traveling, and she was really supportive of me traveling, which was so great. But anyway, she was someone that I know supports us now. You all know her. She was in our life in college, and I want her to hear this and hear. She knows how I feel about her, but I wanted to put it here and have it here and have it in a podcast and have her listen to it. And she's still that person to this day, like, for people and involved with people. And we connect and we talk, and it's always really beautiful. And we are each other's business connection, but it goes beyond that. We are each other's comadres. And I'm going to wrap with this. We were writing something on a blog once, and we talked about, like, a comadre doesn't have to actually be your comadre. Like, you can love someone like a comadre, and nobody did anything to become comadres with the church or at a wedding. And we were like, you know what? That's right, huh? You're my comadre, coma, coma, coma. And it was like, to this day, we did eventually become comadres. Like, she was in my wedding, and I was her daughter's, like, first communion, because he wanted to make it official. But that kind of love, like, the word comadre doesn't even exist in English. It's like co-parent, co-mom. Like, so when you're Latino, like, what comadre means, what compadre means. And, like, I feel it with her. Like, it organically came up, and we were like, somos comadres. Sí, somos chingonas, like, and I use those in English. She doesn't. She speaks usually in English. And yeah, we've been comadres to this day. We made it official, and it goes beyond a business relationship. And boy, did I learn. And boy, am I grateful. And so think about those people right now. Think about who you feel was like, that girl was my comadre, and I didn't even know it. She was my office mate. She was my first professor that looked like me. She was my neighbor. My mom wasn't very motherly, but she was, people in your life that were your first mama. Maybe it wasn't your mama. They were your first boss, and maybe they were just a supervisor. Your boss sucked. Thank those people.
And I'm thanking you, Elisa Lerma, on the show.
Oh,
Love
that's
you.
beautiful.
Aw, Mama, you heard that.
I know Vero knows what I feel. Vero worked with her
Yeah,
before.
I worked with
you know
her
what
very
I feel.
close. Yeah, much love to her. She's an amazing woman. Amazing, amazing woman. And she has I don't think I know anyone else like her at all.
No
I don't
one.
know anyone else like Elisa.
Her parents are incredible. So I think she's just got this incredible just story and journey. She's so close to her family. It's like so admirable, right? It doesn't have to be about business, like a
It's
way
beautiful.
of life.
But yeah, I think that's great. Thank you for thanking Elisa. Thank you for thanking Elisa because she is an amazing person. And so everyone out there, get the inspiration to reach out to those people that have really helped you become or realize things in life that you wouldn't have realized before. And sometimes it takes a little while to recognize it. Aww.
My last text from her, I was about to tell her I love her, and I was talking about her, and it's like, me love you forever. And she's got a Vans t-shirt with an emoji. Of course she does.
Of course
That's
you
her
would.
style.
Of course you would.
Of course. Right?
But yeah, so just like that, reach out to those people that have really made a difference in your life professionally. In this particular podcast, we're talking about professional relationships and those people that have been essential to really contributing to becoming the professional that you are. But if there are those people that, also kind of blend in and there's this mixture of professional and personal love there and growth and development from them, also reach out to them and think, you know what? I love you as a friend, but I also love you for teaching me X, Y, and Z. And with that, I'm also very grateful to have amazing women on this podcast with me as co-hosts. Ceci and Irene, you both are very inspirational. I know I've told you before, and sometimes we take each other for granted. And I want you to know that I value both so much. I thank you too for keeping me consistent. When life gets hectic, you both are very great, reliable, amazing women that I can turn to. So thank you so much. Se cuidan mucho. If you guys want to continue the conversation, want more ideas or talk about professional relationships, hit us up. You can always find us on Instagram or Facebook at Level Up Latina. You can also go to our website, leveluplatina.com, to find out all about us, our services, what we provide, all that good stuff. Listen to our podcast, subscribe, review. If you want to talk about your business with us, Latina Equal Pay Day is coming up. Let's, if any Latina-owned business out there that wants to put their name on our show and support us, we support you, you support us. We'll do it together. We are Latinas. Let's make sure we get paid. So let's, hit us up. We would love to have you as a sponsor or have you, just do a podcast shout out to your business. You can find that information on our website as well, leveluplatina.com. So thank you so much today. Ceci, Irene, las quiero un chingo.
Que you ladies are killing it with the podcast.
Aww. Entonces ahí están. Besitos. ¡Ah!